If there is one documentary this year that focuses on a famous person and gets an Oscar nomination, it would be the 107th Justice of the Supreme Court, the second female to get in, and the most popular member to the youth as of 2019, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Last year, the notorious RBG had two movies centered around her. One was the biopic film On the Basis of Sex starring Felicity Jones, and the other being the BAFTA and the two-time Oscar-nominated documentary, RBG. Now, if you saw my Oscar nominations predictions, I was predicting RBG as a big snub for documentary. But when nominations came out, they did nominate that film, but snubbed Won't You Be My Neighbor. And I thought with that snub, I felt like that it was going to be RBG. I did have a couple of things why I think the Academy was going to go with RBG, which they didn't, because you'll find out what it is tomorrow. One, the film had an additional nomination for Best Original Song for All Fight. And two, since the Academy loves to talk about their current time of American politics, especially against our president. And three, they just want to put Ruth herself on stage, kind of like what Al Gore did when An Inconvenient Truth won a decade ago. But it didn't win as a result. As for the film itself, it's directed and produced by Betsy West and Julie Cohen, and it focuses on the life of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. From the day she went to law school, especially the gender discrimination when she attended, with the big support of her then boyfriend and later husband, Martin, with her being a lawyer for 6 cases of the discrimination throughout the 70s, to her appointment at the Supreme Court in the 90s, to the present with her being a legend to so many women and young people. Before I watched this film, I was thinking it was just going to be about her origins and her health battles, especially she's now 86. But what this movie surprised me, and I love this film. The direction of the film was perfect, especially the entire crew of the film were all done by women. And since it's a film about who supports women's power, makes it work. If a man directed it, I don't think it wouldn't work. This film really explains a lot on her. When she was a lawyer during the 70s and her confirmation hearing from the Senate, especially then Senator Joe Biden, her speaking is calm, non-angry, no complaints, just speaking. As for her late husband Martin, he has to be one of the best husband stories I've heard in a documentary, because he cares for her even with the female discrimination. He wants to see the love of his life getting on that court. Not only that we get interviews from her, but we'll also get her kids, writers, her childhood friends, and especially President Bill Clinton. As for Ruth herself, man, I can see why she's an inspiration to so many people, especially for the females on she managed to fight all the cases she did to get that position that still is her position as of today. I do have to confess here that she did warm my heart. There are so many moments here that are really nice to see the praise she's been getting, and even something that she's okay with, like being close friends to the late Antonin Scalia despite it being on opposite sides of the court, to have a pulp culture icon called the notorious RBG, named after the late rapper Christopher Wallace, also known as the notorious B.I.G. or Biggie Smalls, which she's also alright with, cause since she and the late rapper are New York natives. But the one thing that I was really surprised about was her laughing at the parodies, especially from Saturday Night Live. Now, with that scene in particular, it does remind me of a moment in Won't You Be My Neighbor. Now, in that movie, it was revealed that Mr. Rogers is not a fan of the parodies of him, with the exception of the SNL skit from Eddie Murphy. But as for Ruth, she doesn't actually mind about it because they did make her laugh. Despite all of that, if there is one criticism about the film, it's actually the Oscar-nominated song All Fight, which the music and lyrics were by Diane Warner and performed by Jennifer Hudson, which she'll probably win Supporting Actress next year for Cats, if it's good. In my opinion, the song itself, it's so baity, which means it's an Oscar bait song. Out of all the documentaries I was anticipating, This was probably the one I was least anticipated. This film surprised me and makes me understand why Ruth Bader Ginsburg is such a beloved icon, and an actual politician documentary that made me smile. This has to be a must watch for a lot of people, especially for the woman and the youth like myself. The only people I don't recommend this film to are those who don't care about politics. And no offense, but this is not a film for the supporters of our president, since she is a Democrat. As much as I would love to say RBG here, we have to look at the winning documentary film that's basically a film you might not want to eat if you're going to watch it. All about a guy climbing a mountain.